Hello and welcome to Dicey Exploits, a show that's gone and made itself completely redundant after just one episode. Because even though we like stitching these little videos together in a bid to bring you some board games that'll hopefully be some measure of fun with your family and friends, or even give you the opportunity to laugh with or potentially at me, either one's good, I don't really mind. Today's game, you'll probably figure out whether or not you want it within the first 30 seconds of this video. Rampage is a game that will turn your table from this into this.
Can I do the same thing again?
Yeah. You could try. It has never worked before. Watching. Rampage lets you and 3 other players become ginormous, horrible monsters that kind of are the result of a love affair between Godzilla and Puff the Magic Dragon, if I'm going to be honest. And your job is not to eat the most people in this poor little city, but the biggest variety of people. But how do you increase your palate in such a rude way? By destroying the city, of course. Make no mistake about it, Rampage's dimension-piercing setup is sure to allure even the most timid of board game enthusiasts, even those people that traipse into a room and say, "You play board games, don't you mean I'm bored games?" And it's not just because of the cutesy-wootsy pop culture references you'll find on each individually designed floor. It's because you've promised people that you're going to completely wreck this board at some point, and their excitement grows ever greater when you tell them exactly how you do that. On their turn, players can do 2 of 4 possible actions. They can move across the board by taking their little pause disc and flicking it across the board like that. They can, if they're in the same neighbourhood as one, plonk a vehicle on their heads, take their finger and flick it at the building. That's actually quite good. They can breathe, which doesn't sound like much of a secret power using your circulatory system, however it's not better than that. You simply put your chin on here, take a sharp intake of breath whilst on it, and again, actually do something quite helpful, that more than happen. Or, if you're on the sidewalk for a building that's not preferably demolished, you can take your monster, hold it out over a building, and demolish it like that. It's really, really good. It's so dynamic. You're never in the same place at the same time because you're trying to get an angle of the entire board, seeing what you can do in a really frantic manner, like a snooker player being chased by a raptor. And there's even rules in the rulebook stating that, with their permission, you can sit on another player's lap if you want to get a better angle on things, which by far makes this Dicey Exploits sexiest 4-play game for 4 players. Now it's going to become apparent very, very quickly that you're going to look like a bit of a knob when playing Rampage, and that's absolutely fine. In fact, I'm not entirely sure why there isn't a section devoted in the instruction booklet as to how this is going to happen. On my very first game, I got my monster, plonked a vehicle on top of him, and thought, well, I'm going to cause tons of destruction throughout the city simply by flicking inanimate objects at things. I prepared my finger, flicked it, and it slowly headed towards a building and lodged itself between 2 floors, Italian job style. Now, we're not entirely sure how this happened, especially as I just had to move that floor upwards slightly to put it in. It was a completely unwritten moment. We sort of guffawed for a second, stared each other down and went, right, okay, let's just move on then. Another time, there was a businessman on top of this building here, and Kerry decided to take her monster and drop it, as any player would when demolishing a building. And as the monster slowly went down in slow motion, we found out that the skull of this businessman here was made of titanium. For some strange reason, when it landed, it suddenly flew off out of the city, out of the planet, and landed comatose on the moon. In layman's terms, that actually means that it just headed under the sofa and we had to spend 10 minutes trying to find it. But what's even more surprising, the force of that skull popped the monster off and allowed it to completely miss the building entirely. The best dexterity games relish the moment of complete and utter failure. And whilst entirely random, these unscripted moments are flipping hilarious. Hilarious. Once players have finished having a little hissy fit, they can eat as many meeples in their neighbourhood as they like, if they have the right amount of teeth to do so. Every player starts with 6 teeth at the beginning, so they can eat a yellow, a black, a red, a blue, a green, and a grey. This counts as a full set and bags you 10 whole points for the end of the game. There's also a floor here with no meeples on it, but that would only score 1 point. They're practically used as only handy in ties. Even if you gather this yellow, if it doesn't belong to a set, it means absolutely nothing to you. However, we have a little bit of an issue over here. You see, these 2 meeples are outside of the city, and even if they're comatose or even paraplegic from falling from a 3rd-storey building, they're considered to have escaped and are placed on the runaway track over here. Now, there's a variety of really nasty effects here, and whenever a player fills up the track with runaway meeples, they face negative effects. So here, they'll lose a tooth, and everyone else will gain 1 extra action. You see, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. If you play it cleverly and gamble at the right times, you can fill up the track early, just enough for everyone else to risk feeling the negative effects from the rest of the run if they have no option but to fill it up. It's really quite a clever tactic and allows you to mess with the other players' heads if you do so correctly. Of course, you could also nuke the entire city on a move and fill up 5 tracks, which has happened in one of our games, so you know, it could go either way. As the city becomes more of a wasteland, it becomes a maze of risk-reward, and the biggest penalties in Rampage come in the form of poor dental care. If you move your monster off the board, because the world is flat in this version of the game, you lose a tooth, and that limits the amount of meeples you can eat in your neighbourhood when your turn ends. The same happens if you pick up a monster and drop it, hitting absolutely no buildings whatsoever. You chip one and it's gone forever. And the same happens if you manage to take down another player's monster. Take down another player's monster. Another player's monster. Another player's monster. Monster. Yes! Now if I strain my ears ever so slightly, I can hear the sound of some coins hitting monitors. Please don't do that. I don't want to be blamed for the damage to your computer screens. An account number will do absolutely fine. However, I can hear the grumbles of some strategists who demand an extra layer of complexity to the destruction of this city. And who want to manipulate not only the players' minds, but the minds of those who live in Little Kitchenville down here. Well, that's where these funky little cards come in. At the start of the game, each monster is given 1 of these cards each, in a bid to give their character a sense of personality in this ever-changing, desolate city. First off, they're given character cards, which are mini objectives the monsters were born to complete, such as eating the most blondes in the city and becoming the greatest misogynist of all time, or destroying the most black businessmen, like Nick Griffin. These cards kind of give a sense of purpose if you're really crap at collecting sets of meeples. They can at least give you a 10-point lifeline at the end of the game, should things not go your way. But it's not all about eating. You've got cards such as this one, which means if you're good at potholing vehicles onto desolate ruins where buildings used to remain, you get 5 extra points each turn. They're a nice way of slightly mixing up the game. But then you've got these super secret, super sexy powers that you keep hidden from everyone else, and you can only use at once every game, such as the catcher that gets to catch monsters, put them on his head, and flick them at other things. Or the hobo, which doesn't sound as super sexy, but lets you revoke 3 meeples from the stomach of any other monster. Thankfully not graphically depicted in the game at any point. Or, oh, holy... Okay, this guy lets you play 3 power cards immediately. Now these cards are super secret abilities that are given, much like the character cards, at the beginning of the game. these can be a little unstable. If we're going to find any flaws in the game, it's the powers that come with it. Now, some of these are grossly overpowered when it comes to the actual game itself, so they completely break the gambling aspect. Many of Rampage's best aspects come from when things go wrong, and some of these powers eliminate those. There are some good ones here. I mean, you've got the climber, which means you can put the monster on a building before you move it, which you can flick across even further gasps of land. However, you can always fall off the board. Or stuff like the heavyweight, which means instead of landing on a building, you can land on another monster and chip their tooth, but of course if you miss, you chip your own. Then there's the ridiculous ones that break the things that can go completely wrong, like stretchy paws. This means before a move, you can replace your monster anywhere in the neighbourhood you're in. There have been times where players have been cornered by 2 defeated monsters and a bit of wall. We've all looked at it thinking, you can't possibly escape from this. And they've somehow managed to do so. If they had that card, that would have revoked such an anecdote for future games. Even worse, there's stuff like vacuum. At the end of the game, when the entire city is full of dishevelled meeples, what this card can do is allow players to blow these meeples off the board, and instead of being penalised for it, grab those meeples and put them in their own neighbourhood. Logically meaning that when the automatic eating phase happens, you've got easy pickings for sets towards the end of the game. You might as well call it a get out of jail free card. If you're playing with people that aren't as goofy, zany or as quirky as the ones Rampage is trying to appeal to, and more of the tactical kind, it means more damage can be done to that city by a player than any monster that enters it. At the end of the day, though, you sit there shaking your head at the slight imbalances that are directed at Rampage, but I don't think it really cares. It waltzes onto your table, laying out all there is to lay out, and says, "You're going to have fun destroying me," and you know what? It's absolutely fair. There are a bunch of absolutely ridiculous, stupid incidents that are just waiting to be uncovered with this game, unlike many others. And if you're prepared to make an absolute mess of your table, you're going to have fun and you're going to laugh so hard. It's as if these monsters are attacking your funny bone just as hard as they're attacking the orphans that they're leaving behind.